Hello. Hi. I think there's like one person in here. Hello. Hi. My name is Luminous Peak. I am a Fae Night Witch on sabbatical. And my God, has it been a struggle trying to stream the last several days. I'm glad to be here today. We're gonna do some reading, but I do want to introduce myself because I know that the crowd that's on around this time is very much different than what I'm used to. So for anyone who ends up hopping in here or who's never seen me before, I am a Fae Night Witch, variety streamer VTuber, and I occasionally play games on this channel, but I like to do reading streams like this one when I can, and I also do mechanical keyboard builds. So before diving in, anyone who's been to my streams before will know that this is not our usual setting. This is a little room I have carved out for myself in the Wanderer's Library. I'm doing I guess we'll call it a bedtime story. So I figured this would be a little more appropriate. I had a difficult time trying to get the stream together because Twitch was having issues last week. And then on top of that, my internet was conking out. It was very frustrating to say the least. That's what we'll say. So I tweeted earlier today that I was going to try again, and it seems like my internet hasn't taken a poop yet, so we might actually be able to get through some of the reading today. I actually was able to get through quite a bit before. I want to say this was a few days ago, but the stream kept going in and out, like it would disconnect and reconnect at such a ridiculous interval. I had like 4 VODs just from like maybe an hour of reading. So I took them down, and we're gonna start again fresh, optimistic, uh, looking for some I guess like a slither of hope is what we'll call it. So as stated before, this reading is actually going to be from the MONOCEROS zine. I've got like a link to the. Oh, hey, Flamingo. Hi. I didn't think you'd actually be up. If you hit the exclamation point today command, it should give you information. Actually, let me test it because I can't. I think I updated Nightbot last time, but I can't remember. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yes. So there you go. Exclamation point today gives you the whole rundown summary and a link for the project if you're interested in it. So far as I know, this is the old project, and this book is not actually available for purchase anymore. So I don't think there will be any issue with me reading the content in the book. It's pretty much an anthology, a collection of stories and reflections, like it says in the summary here, about unicorns, and it goes into some of the history. So hopefully we'll get into that and it'll go over well. A Flamingo, sure, I like that. Oh, I'm up for the wrong reasons and right reasons. I almost want to ask, but I'm not going to. We are going to have a relaxing reading session. And I'm not going to have you tainted with your personal anecdotes. So, I'm just going to jump straight into it because I'm so anxious about my my internet. I remember, I think before I had actually shown like the cover of the book. I'll have to post some photos after the stream. Just because my desk is a mess. I share the house with other people, and I also share a desk. So my webcam is not set up. It's looking real ghetto. So I don't want to show off my desk right now. But it is a reflections anthology along with an art book. So there's art entries in here that are really cool. Some of the art actually has been shared on the Twitter that's up above on that exclamation point today command. You can find them on Twitter at MONOCEROS zine. MONOCEROS _ zine. If you want to see some of the images, because they definitely tease some. You know you love it, Hardwing. I love it sometimes. Only sometimes, though. There are moments. There are appropriate moments. So yeah, I'm just going to be reading today. Hopefully anyone that enjoys bedtime stories and things like that will have a good time, regardless of if you're listening live or if you're listening to the VOD, either way. I enjoy reading. I enjoy reading out loud, and it gives me an excuse to knock some things off of my list that I wanted to explore. I have a lot of books to read, and I also enjoy sharing information with people. Before I start reading, let me know if my voice is too quiet, if the background music is too loud. Let me know any of those things. Sometimes I read with my background music. Sometimes I read with white noise. I'll go check out the art because I'm curious. It's really good. I actually, not that, I can't possibly shill it because the project is over, but I bought a couple prints from the collection as well that I thought were really nice. I'm not necessarily, all the sound is perfect. Thank you, Flamingo. I'm just nervous at this point now. I feel like when I first started streaming, I was overconfident about my audio and it was actually terrible. So I can't help but ask now before I do anything. I'm scared. I'm seeing the art and it's pretty tight. It's really nice. The piece that I got was like a big, like, you know what? In comparison to wall art, maybe I'd say like a medium-sized piece. It's of a so coincidence having you in the chat, Flamingo. It's of a like sexy anthro unicorn with really gorgeous dark skin and pink hair. I'm pretty sure that the print or the digital piece is floating around the Twitter somewhere because it was one of their featured pieces. Vesper, I'm so shocked that you are here, honestly. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was perfectly cool with just streaming and leaving the reading bot up for later. I enjoy recording these things regardless of who's hanging around, but it is always nice to have company, of course. Always, always nice. So, without any further ado, it's me in an alternate universe. I believe it. I believe it. Of course, that means that I've got a digital art piece of you just hanging up on my wall at home. So do with that what you will. So, like I said before, I did get through, I want to say a healthy piece of the first entry in this book when I was attempting to record earlier. So I know a little bit of what it's about. So some of these are short stories. Some of these are reflections on like unicorns in lore. So we're just gonna start from the beginning and kind of like go through here. Now credit where credit is due. I'm gonna read through the editor's note first. Lois, it's late. Lols, it's wait for the East Coast bats. Yes, yes. I know it's late. I don't know. I'm up. I'm wired to a certain degree. I'm wired enough to at least have like maybe an hour and a half stream. We'll see how much we can get through. It's because it discusses lore. I know I'm going to stop to like reflect and discuss things. So do I have pronouns? Oh, shoot. I do not have that. I meant to set it up at some point. It did not. I absolutely should. I totally forgot. Any are fine. But shoot, I know I wrote about that somewhere. What page did I write about it on? Oh, my debut slideshow. I put it in there, but not in the commands. I feel like I should fix that right now, but I'm gonna resist the urge. I will add it after stream. Any and all are fine. Commonly, like to give you a real answer, commonly, I go by she, her, but I literally accept any. I just wanted to set mine up. Oh, does it let you do that? I didn't see anything pop up. I don't know if it's like a menu. Oh, I can see flamingos. Oh, you mean in the... You mean the widget? Oh my god, I'm so blind. I was just looking at like the dashboard. It was not looking at the widget. Oh my god. Yeah, so you have to set it up like in the actual Twitch menu, I think. I don't think I have mine set up either, to be honest. But most people also have like an actual command. I also might, honestly, even if you set it up, I would probably have to refresh it for it to pop up. Which I could do. I'd refresh it for you if you want it. Let me know when you get it set up. I'll totally refresh it. It's not a big deal. Yeah. I can't remember when they rolled out that feature, but it was really great. Before then, people did actually have like straight up chat commands where you could do it. I have no clue how to do it now. I'll have to look it up so that if something else happens. Let me see. Can I, if I refresh, will it? Boop. Okay, we have refreshed. Oh, you'll set it later? Okay. I am here for unicorns. Yes, we are all here for unicorns. Hopefully, that's what the title of the stream says. So I'm going to start with the editor's note because I think it's important to let people know what the intention of the work is before, you read through it. And it also, allow me a space to give credit to the beautiful people who organized this, because this was like a community project. And I think that's awesome. So the editor's note says, the last unicorn hurling herself through sea foam and black waves to avoid the wrath of the Red Bull. A horned Pegasus cantering through a landscape radioactive with rainbows on your grade school notebook. Angela Carter's virgin-wooed beast whose horn rips the bulging belly of the dark. If you associate the unicorn with childhood, with purity, with whiteness, or with the West, MONOCEROS aims to interrogate your preconceptions. This anthology offers new visions of the one-horned creature that has captured imaginations around the world since a time long before this book came to be held by you now. As a collection of writing and illustration, MONOCEROS contains unique work from 38 individual creators that range from reinventions of folklore, which hearken to your blanket-wrapped youth, to mature encounters with the unicorn's eroticism, power, and horror. While this book has been tenderly curated to feature artists and writers hailing from a variety of aesthetic, ideologic, and personal backgrounds, the desire to present something fresh to unicorn lore and iconography serves as a uniting thread. Beyond the content housed within this little black tome, MONOCEROS was founded by our editor-in-chief with the intention of supporting creators, not only with a platform to share their work, but with compensation. We have worked hard to ensure that fair compensation and visibility both comprise the backbone of the MONOCEROS project. As you flip through these pages, we hope you enjoy the works collected here, knowing that you have reached creators directly and that we cannot thank you enough for your support. And then the editor-in-chief is A.H. Pennington, the associate editor is San M, and the associate editor, the second one, is Sam C. Now, San M is actually a very prominent artist on Twitter. I don't have their exact Twitter on me, but I know if you search for like Son, S-O-N, and then M as a initial, I'm sure you can find them because that's like their actual set name. I didn't want to say anything, but I've been imagining a unicorn being chased by a can of Red Bull for a little bit. I feel like that's probably a legit Red Bull commercial. I know for a fact that they featured like Pegasi and maybe unicorns in some of their advertising. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a legit thing. Okay, I'm gonna get started with the first reading selection because I already know it involves like actual history, and I'm gonna have to stop every once in a while to discuss a couple things. So the first written entry in here is called The Sweet Smell Peculiar to Virgins by Samantha Bolf. It starts with, for all these myths about young girls and luring unicorns to their death, most of the girls I knew had an affinity for horses and for the make-believe. Not to say that all of them felt such a kinship, but many of my friends had Lisa Frank notebooks with confetti-covered unicorns on the cover, horses with rainbow wings and horns and a coat so highlighter bright you had to tilt your head to the side and squint before you could really look at them. Sure, they were tacky and unreal, but they were fun. They were cool. There was definitely something to it. Just as an aside, I want to add that like I wasn't a super big Lisa Frank person, but I did actually very much enjoy their equine characters. If I recall correctly, there were two of them. The unicorn was named Marky because I liked that one the best. Obviously, I remember. And there was like a normal, like, oh, I feel like I'm going to mess up the name of the actual horse. But it was like the breed. But it was like a brown horse with like white splotching on it. I keep wanting to say like pimento, but I don't think that's like the correct word. I used to be into horses. Yeah, there was lore. There was lore to Lisa Frank. Yeah. And I love these descriptions. Yes, I do too. Everything here was masterfully written. Like from the little taste I got when I tried to record earlier. Really great. Yeah, but there was lore. I think every single one of the characters had backstories actually. So like if they were featured on like the binders or notebooks, they did actually, in fact, have background. Yeah. It was super cool. Okay, I don't want to get derailed too much. I remember staring at those notebooks, the stripes of pink and unnatural purples laced together in the unicorn's mane, the covers that hinted at the promise of glitter, silver, and sticky and full of light hidden inside their pages, the way that I kind of wanted to press my face against all that colorful cardboard and eat it. Like the notebooks themselves, there's something to it. That imagined desire, violent and swift, to press your face against an image and in some way or another consume it. Often I think about turning the earth backwards with my fingertips and unspooling it until only soil lies there, untouched and quiet and soft. In the season 4 finale of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Buffy dreams of herself sitting in a government facility, helping her boyfriend prepare for the apocalypse. And then she's in the desert, smearing clay on her face. What I mean is that there's something to be said for leaving a few questions unanswered. The unicorn tapestries are a good example. No tapestries, quote unquote, Phyllis Ackerman tells us, have so stimulated speculation and controversy as The Lady and the Unicorn. And the same can be said for The Hunt of the Unicorn, a collection that was once deemed, quote, the most important set of tapestries in America, unquote, by British writer H.C. Marillier. Shrouded in mystery, connected only by subject matter and material, the sets are two of a kind. Both painted by unknown artists for unknown reasons, The Lady and the Unicorn and The Hunt of the Unicorn feature the mythological creature that we know as the unicorn, but which has gone by many other names. Wild Ass, Oryx, Carthazon. Even though the person who coined that phrase really meant rhinoceros. Rhinoceros. MONOCEROS, which is plenty, and monster, which is Selinus. So some of these are attributed, some of these are not. And these are all other names for unicorns, which I remember because I look up way too many things. Yeah, right? I see why they go by unicorns. Exactly. Wild Ass is my favorite, of course. Especially because it just like sort of compares them to like donkeys, I guess. Like donkeys are already like wild animals. So like how do you get like a wild animal? You know what I mean? It says a lot for how they envisioned those animals at the time. That ass being wild. Vesper, please. Okay. Odell Shepard, who wrote The Lore of the Unicorn, tells us that while the unicorn was first mentioned in the 5th century BC by Ctesias, the Greek physician, it was seen on cylinder seals of Babylon and Assyria, on coins of Mycenae, and objects d'art from certain origin that were spread throughout Europe and Asia during the Middle Ages. Even Julius Caesar declared that the Hercynian forest contained a huge beast with the form of a stag, from the middle of whose brow and between the ears there stood forth one horn, although at the time he didn't have it in him to name it. Strangely enough, the Greeks alone seem to lack interest in the unicorn. When it comes to composite monsters, as they're so referred, the artists of Greek antiquity preferred Medusa in her head of snakes to the unicorn with its ever-shifting repertoire of body parts. And it is easy to see why she would have made an appropriate substitute. There is a duality inherent to both Medusa and the unicorn as hybrid creatures. They walk back and forth, around and over the boundaries of gender, species, physiology, and nature itself. Flamingo, I've gotten comfy, so now I can wild out. I hope you are enjoying the lore of the wild ass, as they call it. Before her transformation into the Gorgon, Medusa was a particularly beautiful priestess in the Temple of Athena, and a virgin in the archaic rather than the modern sense. Though there are contradictory versions of her origin story, it is generally agreed that Medusa, by sleeping with either Poseidon or Apollo, under Athena's nose, had overstepped the bounds of propriety and was exiled from the temple. Although it was much worse than that, I see they didn't want to get into it. When Medusa is killed by Perseus, it is said that Pegasus sprang from her severed neck, only to be captured and given to Athena, who in turn gifts him to the Muses. Athena, however, keeps Medusa's head for herself and wears it on her breastplate. Asclepius then collects Medusa's blood, which gives him the power to both slay and heal. We are saving Medusa's truth for the Medusa's magazine. Yes, absolutely. Similarly, the horn of the unicorn was said to possess the ability to extract poison from water. But it was the same horn which allowed the unicorn to evade capture and incite fear in would-be pursuers. It was valuable as a weapon, as a symbol of status, and as an instrument of healing, just as Medusa's blood was valuable as a weapon and for health, and her head was utilized as a symbol of Athena's power. Poor Medusa. Yes, absolutely. R.I.P. Pour one out for the homie. There are a few different and notable parallels here. The birth of Athena from Zeus's head and Pegasus born out of Medusa's ravaged neck. Medusa's powerful blood and the unicorn's coveted horn, the varying descriptors of their respective bodies as monstrous and magical in equal measure. But its connection that we will want to focus on is the role that virginity, in both its archaic and more modern meaning, plays in Medusa's mythology, as well as that of the unicorns. During the Middle Ages, unicorn legend had evolved to incorporate explicitly the role of the virgin. This is the version of the myth that is featured in The Hunt of the Unicorn and The Lady of the Unicorn, respectively. Helmut Nickel, a former curator of arms and armor at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, described in poetic language the unicorn as having succumbed to the attractions of a maiden to whom it was drawn by the sweet smell particular to virgins. Odell Shepard recorded that, in certain stories, the hunt was more likely to succeed if the virgin was naked, and all the better if she was beautiful on top of that. The connotations of the virgin capture story, Shepard informs us, are in fact definitely erotic. The Lady and the Unicorn shows us an interaction between a woman and the unicorn that seems more akin to a courtship than to a capture. The titles of the individual panels are, in order, Touch, Hearing, Sight, Smell, and Amon Sol Désir. These panels focus on scenes thought to reference courtly love and desire, as well as each of the five senses. Are we saying unicorns are opposite furries? Yes. Yes. Yes, we are. The Hunt of the Unicorn, as we can guess from the title, displays an unfolding narrative in which a group of noblemen, hunters, and dogs pursue and eventually capture and kill a unicorn in the woods. So these are two separate pieces they're talking about, the Hunt of the Unicorn and the Lady and the Unicorn. So the Lady and the Unicorn is the one that has the five senses, right? But the Hunt of the Unicorn just shows people capturing and killing it, of course. Whatever the original intent of the artwork, the Hunt of the Unicorn tapestries have been interpreted mainly in two ways. On one level, according to the Metropolitan Museum, the symbolism is religious, in which case the hunt and capture by a virgin are themes which can be interpreted as the whole divine plan for man's redemption. In the context of that analysis, the figure of Christ takes the place of the unicorn, and the virgin becomes the most famous virgin of them all, Mother Mary. Conversely, If we focus on the secular symbolism, for example, the use of periwinkle at the start of the hunt panel, as the herb was supposed to cure any discord between man and wife, the story becomes something else, something just ancient and familiar, an allegory of courtship and marriage, wherein the unicorn is pursued by hunters as the personification of the valiant medieval lover undergoing great danger and suffering to gain the hand of his beloved. I'm not gonna lie. I just want to say, like, as a person that has studied English, particularly things that were written around the time that this was like the 1500s or so, I feel like it's really pretentious to like. I think that level of symbolism is a little pretentious. Is that mean to say? I kind of think it is. I think it's weird to uphold. Well, I don't want to say weird, because I feel like humans relating to one another, and relating things that they see and come up with to like human life makes sense, right? You want analogs to things you're familiar with. Yeah, but I think that it's just a little pretentious to make, or to try to circle everything that is divine back into the connection to humans. But I suppose that that's a sort of hubris that all humans have, and that is reflected across mythology in general. You sort of get these symbols that seem distant or bigger than humanity, and then humans are like, but yes, this is exactly like what being a human is like. It's equally as pretentious as imagining the gods to be human-like, which is very common. But yeah, I think that sounds a little mean, but I do actually mean it. It sort of sounds like it's getting, I think it's getting lost in itself because it's stretching so hard to be accessible to people. Maybe unicorns were made by horny girls. Just remove all the deepness up from it, right? Just like, we know how angels really look now. You know, I enjoy like reflecting back on these sort of like historical lenses. But it's also sort of tainted, you know, like once you know the history of what was happening in like the country of Britain, for example, at the time that these things were written, like the schism that was taking place like within the church and everyone's personal motivations for it, it taints these things like so much for me. You know what I mean? I mean, there is a deepness, but also horse girls. Yes, yes. So this is gonna sound awful and I'm sorry, but there's a text arrow game that I play, and one of the very first easiest encounters you can actually have in the game is a horse girl. And for some reason you saying that definitely reminded me of that. Okay, I'm getting back on topic. I promise I'm getting back on topic. Although, maybe there's another way to look at it. The secular themes in The Hunt of the Unicorn and the quiet companionship and references to the five senses in The Lady and the Unicorn bring courtship and romance to mind, sure, but the pursuit and capture of the unicorn could be read just as easily as a stand-in for the experiences of women forced or coerced into marriage. As we know, it's usually the beloved, not the valiant lover, failing to escape penetration by sword and captivity. Annis Pratt argues that the unicorn, like most women, is kept in captivity within the enclosure of the patriarchy. And with this in mind, one can see the virgin and the unicorn as emblematic of erotic liberty. Pratt admits that in Christian Europe, the unicorn was male and phallic, nuzzling the innocent virgin's breast to get at her virgin milk. That's a quote, buddy. Oh my God. But she then offers us a different, more subversive interpretation of the relationship between a virgin and a unicorn, one in which virgin means a girl free to go where she would like and make love, or remain celibate as she chose. Yeah. So what they're trying to explain here is that unicorns are associated with feminine things now, but when these pieces were made, like unicorns were considered to be very male and very phallic. Similar to how like certain things that we code as very feminine these days, like high heels and wigs and stuff, were things that like men used to popularize and wear, right? Like they're only considered feminine. Yeah, you're right. It is a horse with a horn. Literally, it's a horse with a horn. I mean, like just to put it indelicately. This is a time where people would like literally eat horse dick to get like magic. You know what I mean? Like that was their version of, you know, like the shitty advertisements. Hey, do you want to grow like 3 inches? That's what they would do. They would like chop off limbs from animals that they felt were very masculine and like consume them in the hopes of absorbing their blood and power. You know what I mean? So this is the time period we're talking about where people would believe these things, but also like be religious in like a Christianly sort of way. So this is like before any medical science was like a thing. Humanity never changed. Right? Exactly. Sometimes I look at humanity and I'm like, I don't know. Double fallacy. Yes. Back in the day, horse semen was advertised to help with it. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. It's just that because of the way that we color code things these days and the influence that advertising has had on how people view things, they've managed to shift or subvert quite a few things that were considered very masculine. So it's easy to look back on these old things and with like the lens of how we look at them now. Like it's very easy to see like, oh, you know, like unicorns are pure, and so obviously they would be attracted to, you know, like a virgin. It's courtship, it's pure, whatever. And back then they were like, oh no, that horse got a whole horn, so clearly it'd be fucking. That's legitimately, they were just that simple in terms of their associations. Like the idea of a virgin being surrounded by unicorns that are attracted to her would represent like the male idea of courtship for them at that time. Yeah, exactly. That horse wants to fuck that. Exactly. Literally that. Because why not? That's what they all want to do. So why not, you know? So this person, Annis Pratt, basically says that if we're gonna view it through a modern lens, then we might as well view the whole thing through a modern lens, not like just code it through the masculine modern lens. So I see how virgin in this case, in terms of being pure, would shift to mean a woman who's free to make her own choices because she hasn't actually done anything yet, right? So I see it. I think it's very postmodern. I don't think that most people would even want to interpret it that way, to be completely honest. But I see it. Oh my God, you just gave me a picture idea. Oh no. The horn too sharp to be... I like the idea of it being beautiful but deadly with its horn. So there's some art in here that reflects that, beautiful but deadly. But I would also like to say that there are artistic depictions of unicorns where the horn is blunt specifically for those purposes. Like that meme picture, but instead of minutes, I know exactly which meme you're talking about. You're talking about the girl on the couch. Okay, I'm moving on. Just like Medusa before her, maybe that's the draw of the unicorn. A kindred spirit of sort, fellow survivors of millennia-old witch hunts, cursed with shifting dual natures, never seen clearly or understood in the minds of others. The tapestries, similar and separate, help us understand the connection between the unicorn and the virgin, the gorgon and the girl, and the woman and the witch. A connection that has everything to do with a shared history of changing shape to avoid capture, by husband or by hunter. Ooh, there's a piece of art here. Ooh, there's 2 pieces of art here. I'm definitely going to take pictures of these and put them on Twitter. Let's see. I also saw the picture of the unicorn dude with his... There's a few of those, yes. Yes, I saw that. I saw that. I think I have that saved somewhere, to be completely honest. Oh my god. Crazy. Nightbot actually doing work. Nightbot actually doing work. Very adorable. I might make a meme out of it. You have to tag me in it if you do. Oh, okay. There was art after that because that was actually the last of that entry. Nice, nice, nice. I like the comparison between Medusa and the unicorn. I mean, I'm into like mythological studies in general, so I like drawing parallels between different cultures. So that's very cool. Oh, you nasty. Okay. The next entry in this book is called Consider the Fish by Ruvik Strange. And next to it is actually a really nice image. It's like almost like a traditional type painting. So it's not super detailed. But it's a boy in like, I guess like peasant clothes. And he's sleeping in the middle of like a group of unicorns who are like patrolling around him to protect him. It's very cute. I see that you picked a room. It looks like your room has a clockwork theme and uses dark colors. I kind of like that. I like clockwork themes. I know it seems like because I coded these prompts that I would actually know all of them. But a lot of them were randomly generated. Like the combinations of them were randomly generated. So what I can actually tell you is that I don't know every single outcome. There's a lot of them. I think for most of these, there's over 50 outcomes. Flamingo, yours has curvaceous abstract forms and grayscale tones. So hear me out, Flamingo. I think it would be cool to have a photo of you in this room where you are the brightest, like, hypest thing in the room. It would be like a really cool, curvaceous, because you're curvaceous. Yes. Flamingo gets the Geiger. Oh my god. Yes. But I do think it would make a compelling piece of art if it was like a big sort of temple sort of like room where like the pillars were curvaceous and you were like walking through to get something important and you're just like this beacon of pink in the background. I think that would be cool. I guess I'll jot that down. Maybe one day we'll get it done. Okay. This next piece is called Consider the Fish, and I have no clue what this is about. I didn't make it this far when I tried last time. It looks like my internet's not pooping on me, so that's great. The unicorns always disappointed visitors. When someone was brought by, they'd crane their necks like an excited bird through the outer gate. And their face would light up when they saw the first glimmer of white coats. Then the wind would change and their face would fall. The unicorns didn't smell like flowers. Far from it. Oh, this is like a story. Elliot preferred them to smell like hay and muck, like animals, like something real. The first few weeks after he'd been flown out, he felt like he was dreaming. He'd seen one of them kneel down by a wounded rabbit, watched mesmerized as the little animal's flesh knitted back together, tasted the water from the stream they'd purified, clear as filtered, even though it tasted like shit upstream. It was a relief to bury himself in the work they required. Animal work, shoveling shit, washing and combing their coats. He had to trim their horns as well, bribing them with chopped fruit to remain still. The horns grew little offshoots, nubs like buds in early spring, and he sanded them off, capturing every bit of dust. Vesper, I think it'll be about Flamingo. I do a different sort of art instead of the traditional. And see, like ideas like this, ideas like these, like just random little bits of pictures in here, like flashes in the pan. I feel like AI art is good for these sort of things. Like when you don't want to like commission like a full thing, but you want to get an idea out and see like how it looks. I might actually try that. I think I know someone who has like a mid-journey thing. Well, maybe we'll see. We'll see. So like it wouldn't like quite be like fan art, but it would be like really cool concept art. Okay. He had Narwhal flopped on her side, head in his lap as he worked. When the soft bell sounded, someone was coming. Narwhal scrambled to her feet, huffing, and he got out of her way. She'd always been the calmest, the most fond of him, least inclined to chew on his clothes or bite him to pieces as he worked. But lately, she'd been nervous, roaming the corners and picking fights. He got to his feet and followed her for a minute, hand on her side until she calmed. He left her crankily tearing at a tuft of grass in the middle of the pen. The two visitors had already approached the fence. One was a woman with a dark brown coat and a folder of papers, staring at the unicorns with mixed wonder and confusion. And the other, a lanky man, wasn't looking at the unicorns at all. One unicorn, Olivia, sauntered over, studying the visitors with her cat-like eyes. She sidled up towards the fence. "No," Elliot told her, pressing his weight against her side to head her off. She snorted in affront and turned away, and Elliot went forward to the fence. "Afternoon," he said, trying to keep his voice low and even. "Mr. The lanky man shot an arm forward and grasped Elliot's hand. "Blythe. We've met once, remember?" Cat unicorn? Cat eyes. Although, I assume that means that they that the pupils narrow and widen depending on the light, which would make sense because they glow themselves, right? So they want to control like how much light is coming in. Makes sense. I see it. Although I think when most people are imagining equine type creatures, I think most people would think of specifically horse eyes, even though that doesn't really help with the light. Or maybe like goat eyes, because they're like the next nearest animal. But I think cat eyes actually kind of make sense. It could also be referring to the shape. So that's possible. It said cat-like eyes, so yeah, it could be shape. Okay. Blythe. Elliot felt his customer service smile freeze in place and begin to crack. He didn't know what company he was working for, who owned the unicorns, but he had met Blythe shortly after arriving and knew he was a boss, potentially the boss. The Walt Disney of whatever corporation built this remote workstation and successfully concealed this find from the rest of the world. Blythe looked like he was accustomed to people losing their shit around him and didn't mind it. Don't feel bad. Don't look too memorable, do I? He turned to the woman. Elliot is our unicorn handler, Doctor. You'll be giving him the instructions for the new edition. It was still surreal, hearing himself described as a unicorn handler. The smooth pronoun usage, too. He knew all too well that after the first few months of tea still didn't pass, especially going without a binder for the labor the unicorn pen required. Blythe probably remembered from their first meeting. He nodded and then truly processed what Blythe had said. New edition. Did you find another one? My team didn't know you found any, the doctor said, craning her neck to look at Olivia. Olivia, always the flirt, rose up on her hind legs for a minute, pawing at the air. What is this one doing? Mating display, we think. They get crushes on humans like ostriches do. Elliot clicked his tongue at Olivia as she dropped down, looking completely unrepentant. I guess she thinks you're pretty. That's so cute. Oh my god. Okay, hang on. More like goat eyes, but I like cat eyes. Yeah, I think that's just because of the physical shape of them. That's what people go for. Well, unicorns are weird. Like they said, they never had a set appearance. It's true. That is very true. Similar kind of like to dragons. Like, dragons used to vary a whole lot before, like, people started sort of repeating other people's descriptions. I low-key want to work for this company because they probably paying good. Yeah. Damn, oh no, the unicorn was... It's true, it does. At least there's consistency with the lore. Okay. The doctor looked like she didn't know how to respond to that. She turned to Blythe instead. Need to know is one thing, but I'd argue we should have known much sooner. What we produce for you is exactly what we need, Blythe said. Why don't you think we've revealed this to the public already? You'll be contested for ownership, the doctor said immediately. And since the herd is all female, they're a finite resource. You don't want to build a campaign around something that'll run out. Blythe's smile twitched in a way that implied he hadn't wanted an answer. Both good points. But here's another problem, and I saw it written all over your face when we came through the gate. These are undeniably unicorns. The similarities are too many physically to doubt. They even share some of the powers often dismissed as pure myth. But they don't look right, do they? Elliot risked interrupting. They're pretty cute when you get used to them. Blythe shot a frosty smile his way. Of course, but we're not in the business of giving people something close to what they want. We're in the business of giving people exactly what they want. And that's why I asked for the male to be designed that way. The doctor nodded slowly. Elliot nodded too, and then said, "The what?" They're all female. Oh no, they were roommates. They brought the new unicorn to what Elliot called the timeout pen, the smaller enclosure to the side of the large one. His name was Comet, according to the paperwork. That was the first of Elliot's problems. It sounded remote, ethereal. It didn't fit in with the earthbound mess of names he'd given the girls. It reminded him painfully that the girls would probably be renamed in the future. Christened Snow and Sparkle and Twilight Star if they ever made it to the public at all. Blythe didn't seem to like the idea. The best outcome, he said to Elliot, with the confidence of a man that didn't know jack shit about animals but wasn't going to let that stop him, is that Comet here really gets around. We get a batch of babies, and at least some of them get their dad's looks and their mom's quasi-magical powers. That I'd feel good about selling. Currently, they're just... He shook his head. Elliot glanced at the pen. Narwhal was challenging a piece of grass with her horn, wild eyes gleaming. They're not as graceful as the stories, he said. But I like that about them. Makes them seem more real. People don't want real, Blythe indicated, Comet moving restlessly in his pen. They want this. Comet was a storybook unicorn, slim and horse-like, with a short coat that glowed like mother of pearl, fluffy locks around his feet, a mane that didn't tangle into his coat, big brown horse's eyes. The only earthly and practical touch was his dick, something that never made it into a Lisa Frank drawing. I love that reference. I don't think the girls will like him. I don't think I care. Blythe leaned against the fence, eyes focused on Elliot. Listen, we hired you because you're good with temperamental animals. We want you to be good with these ones. If you aren't up for the job... This job, secretive as it was, something he was never going to be able to put on his resume, was paying for a lot of things. He swallowed the bit of bile that rose to his throat. I'll see what I can do. Blythe grinned like a man who had never had to calculate the odds of his survival in dollars and cents. Excellent. Oh my god, yes, absolutely. This is not going to turn out well, I don't think. I'm not going to lie. I don't think that's going to... Oof. Anyway. Animals were easier to get along with than people. If you were kind, if you were a friend... If you were kind, you were a friend. If you weren't, you were an enemy. They killed, of course. Nature, red in tooth and claw. And fucked. And did things that would turn faces green in polite conversation. But all with a brash innocence, a conviction that they were right in whatever they did. More than anything, Elliot envied that. Consider fish. clownfish, changing their sex when needed, male seahorses carrying children. Animals didn't give a fuck about gender. The girls, however, gave a fuck about Comet. The first time Elliot led him up to the fence, letting them get a sniff of him, Olivia, usually the first to investigate a newcomer, laid her ears back and skidded away. Narwhal gritted her teeth and made an eerie, high-pitched noise. Comet blinked at them dully, and Elliot wondered how much gray matter they'd been able to engineer. Oh no, poor baby. Oh, not Comet. Oh no. Oh, he's smooth brain. Damn, they said they don't fuck with Comet. That's exactly what they said. They said they don't fuck with him. It's a wrap already. He had the feeling it was still the brain of a horse or a sheep that trundled away behind those deep eyes, not the cat-like brains that burned in real unicorns. He wanted to feel sorry for the creature, but Comet unsettled him too much. Oh no, Comet be the himbo fembo. It's true. And they are not fucking with it. They are not. Elliot locked him away again and went to the pen. Narwhal snuffled at the scent on his hands and threw her head back, dancing around him as if trying to defend him from the intruding smell. There was something different about her movements, he thought. Something he couldn't quite pin down. A response to the strange newcomer, perhaps. He washed his hands under the nearby faucet and returned, and she approached him warily. He pressed his head against hers, forehead to forehead, a gesture the unicorns made between themselves. He inhaled and exhaled slowly, and she followed him in the rhythm. I'm sorry, he told her. I don't like it either. Narwhal looked into him with her slitted cat-green eyes and made a croaking noise in her throat. He hoped it was a noise of understanding. Hi, Valenius. How are you? I think that's how you pronounce it. Oof. Oof, if it's a different root. If it's a different root word and I'm saying it wrong. I didn't think you'd be able to make it. It was super late. I decided to stream on a whim, so I did not text you to tell you. We're reading about unicorns. I'm not gonna lie. So Valenius is someone I know IRL. I am surprised you even got the notification. Okay. He left Comet in the timeout pen when he went to go get his few hours of sleep, hoping the girls would get used to him. He left Narwhal doing her strange warlike dance in the main pen, hopping and spinning and tossing the scraps of grass with her horn. Ah, my tongue. He couldn't get her to calm down, and the other girls were peaceably ignoring her, so he decided to assume this was normal. There's still so much he doesn't know. You got it. I was gonna go to bed, but I want to listen to you instead. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. A summary of the story up until this point. Oh, thank you. I feel like such a whiz now that I actually have my alerts so I can hear them. I feel like that's terrible. So the summary of the story so far is we have Elliot, who's taking care of some unicorns, who are secretly owned by a corporation. Basically, the unicorns don't look like standard marketable unicorns. So the company wants to have them mate with a unicorn that they genetically engineered, because I guess they got money like that. So that they can have visually like more standard traditional looking unicorns so that they can actually market them to the public. So they did engineer a male. They're trying to get the all-female unicorns, the ones they found naturally, to mate with him. And basically, they took one look at him and they were like, no. No. Elliot, our unicorn handler here, thinks that they probably used like a goat brain or a horse brain when they engineered this unicorn. And these girl unicorns, they are not having it. Like Flamingo said, the girls are plotting. They absolutely are. They do not like him. The male unicorn that they made is named Comet. Because of course they would. Very traditional Lisa Frank type of unicorn. But the girls, they not having it. The girls are not having it. Okay. He dreams. He dreams about walking through the gates of an amusement park with a unicorn head nailed above it, dripping sweet-smelling blood onto his shoulders. Dreams about the taste of purified water, like water from the beginning of the world, raw and earth clean. Dreams about sitting in the waiting room, waiting for the doctor to come and talk about his options for surgery. Narwhal is sitting with him, calm and infinitely patient. There is something different about her, something that resonates in his chest like a heartbeat. There's a word for it, but he can't quite remember. It's on the tip of his tongue when he wakes to Commet's screams. Elliot stumbled out of the stable building, where the unicorn slept when there was still snow on the ground, where he slept to be near them. He could tell it was Comet screaming, though he had never heard unicorn scream. He saw, through sleep-fogged eyes, a section of the pen wall broken down, and the girls standing in a loose huddle, some of them with their heads together, like neighbors chatting by a fire. He walked closer, and a few of them shuffled aside to let them pass. Olivia bumped affectionately against his side, bruising his ribs with her horn. The screaming faded, stopped. Narwhal paced by a long rip in Comet's pen, pausing when Elliot came into view. The pale grass gone dark in long patches, Narwhal's horn was stippled with pink, and at her feet lay Comet. He looked unreal, bright eyes glassy like a broken toy. The only real part of him was the pale pink ropes of gut spilling from his torn stomach and the smell of blood. Comet had smelled like the fake lavender sachets sold for clothing drawers, but his blood just smelled like blood. Elliot stumbled forward, head spinning, trying to remember how much money Blythe had casually mentioned they'd sunk into Comet. Narwhal jumped forward, standing over the body, guarding it, playfully butting the side of her head against him when he came a step closer. It left a long smear of blood on his white shirt. "Narwhal," he said on an exhale. "Oh, Jesus." She hopped a little, strutted from side to side, brilliantly proud of herself, and different. Somehow, the way she moved, the way she held herself, he edged forward and ran his palm along her neck, getting her to hold still for a minute. She turned and looked at him, waiting for him to figure it out. They'd wondered how an all-female group had occurred, how it had survived until now. They'd judged the unicorns by how they first saw them, placed labels on them, like they did with any animal. They didn't know what they were capable of, but had assumed they knew. Assumed the males had all been killed, died out early, wandered off in their own separate herd. When you need one, you become one, Elliot breathed, like fish or something, like... Narwhal made a coughing, considering noise, and Olivia came to his side, leaned against him as if they were talking together. Maybe they were. About the creature that had looked and smelled wrong. The other creatures that she had brought, that had brought it in here. They looked sideways at Elliot, considering, and he felt the presence of the open gate behind him like eyes on the back of his neck. They could go through him to get there. He understood that now. Comet's blood wandered through the uneven dirt to stain the edge of his bare foot. When Narwhal stepped forward, Elliot stepped aside. Narwhal gave a high, laughing sound that Elliot had never heard before, one that sent a shudder of fear and yearning recognition down his spine. Narwhal leapt forward, leaving blood-streaked marks for just a few feet in the cropped grass, and then no trail at all. The others moved with him, none of them looking back, leaving Elliot with the animal smells of shit and blood, the storybook creature ripped apart at his feet. 2 minutes after they were gone, it was easy to believe they were never there at all. Yikes, that's the end of that one. Well, that didn't turn out very well for Comet. Oh no. Yeah, the girls were like, not in this Sophic world. Oh no. It's true. It's true. Yeah, they stabbed him. They stabbed him. They did. They straight up got him. They were like, I'm a shake him. And that's what happened. They decided it was over. They laid in the cut till Elliot fell asleep. And they were like, it's over. We're not doing this. We don't need no man. But I mean, I'm sure that it didn't help that he was like literally not like quite a sapient creature. Like he was barely aware he was alive. You know what I mean? Like that's nuts. They said, well, you brought a faker and then we dipping. Yeah, so like I feel like what happened, so like my interpretation of it is that they sensed the danger, right, of someone trying to like change them. And that's why they did, because they obviously weren't hostile towards Elliot, right? So I don't think it was just the fact that it was fake. I think they were definitely a lot more intelligent than Blythe and the doctor were giving them credit for. So at one point I thought Elliot was about to get it on with the one he connected with. Flamingo, please. Flamingo, please. Okay. I wasn't sure like how deep they were gonna go in terms of the story being about Elliot or the story being about the unicorns, but it makes sense to actually focus the story about the unicorns, clearly. I thought that too. No, y'all can't all be like this. No. I see. We all just want to witness unicorn fucking. I'm sure that there's a short story in here that has that in there, but I'm not gonna look for it. Anyway. The next entry, and how long have we been streaming? It's been like about an hour. I might be able to get through another story or two before I call it quits. I do have to work in the morning, so let's see. I think I can get through maybe one more. This is several. Yeah, we'll do one more. They had a deeper connection and I was like, hey, yo, is this about to happen on Beyonce's internet? I see y'all just want the drama. Y'all just want the drama. You know, there's other places on the net you can go to for this art, you know? You could just look for art of that. It exists. It's out there. It's real. But okay, the last story we're gonna get through for tonight. I feel like I'm on a streak. My net hasn't shut down on me, so I'm very excited. Ring the alarm in the Sopic world. No, I do live for the spice. It's not real. Oh my god. Okay, this last story is called "The Last Mirage" by Emmett Nahil, and it has a little like a little, I don't know, a blurb at the beginning. I guess that's what we'll call it. It says, when Alexander the Great visited Jezzerat al-Tinin, the Dragon's Island, he was immediately presented with an opportunity to play the hero. Among the gifts Alexander was given for this soronctious feat was a mirage, a creature resembling a yellow rabbit with a single black horn on its forehead. It was apparently so aggressive that wild animals would flee at the sight of it. It certainly wasn't fierce enough to avoid being captured, alive or dead. So nice. So now we know what it is. A yellow rabbit with a single black horn, though. That's a very interesting interpretation of a unicorn. Okay. The desert eats most everything in it, best beloved. Draws the liquid through the teeth and pulls. Whatever creature finds itself there, best beloved, should be careful not to be caught behind the desert's gritty teeth and emptied out hole. That just sounds like one of those jackrabbits. Oh, you mean jackalopes? Those have antlers, though. But yeah, it kind of does. Once, there was a youth who disregarded this lesson, which every person learns in the cradle. You and I know, best beloved, that the desert has jinn, and all manner of spirits and creatures waiting, ready to pounce on wanderers. One day, the intrepid youth traveled through the desert carelessly on their way to the capital city just beyond. On the horizon, the youth caught sight of a glimmering mineral dust cloud twirling wildly towards them through the desert. The dust cloud approached at a rapid pace, and they immediately feared for their life. They ran fast as their legs could carry them, away from the whirling pillar of earth. The dust cloud bore down on them, and it began to transform. It shrunk and compressed and grew small and gradually halted, not 15 paces from the traveling youth. Its strangeness gave way to a new shape. Soon the dust cloud was tinted with a shining pelt of yellow gold, and it sputtered into the form of an animal. Startled and intrigued, the youth gave chase to this dust cloud turned flesh. They ran farther still, taunted by the shimmering pelt of the creature formed from the very earth, disregarding the most important lesson of the desert, best beloved. The dunes whipped past them, their feet burning from the grit and friction of the sand below. The winds kicking up, the dust clouds settled, and so did the creature, into the form of an unnaturally large hare with a single, glistening horn of pure obsidian and a shining coat of gold. The unicorn hare twitched its nose and stared back at the youth with eyes like polished onyx. They stopped dead in their tracks, legs shaking from exertion, shoulders tense. They dared not breathe, for fear of the hare, called an almirage, best beloved, running away from them. The creature's horn looked formidably sharp and appeared almost moist to the touch, and the youth imagined the feeling of dew on marble under their fingers. The mirage twitched its nose, darting away into the desert sands. The capital city shimmered behind the dunes like a false image darting in and out of view. The golden mirage glistened as it hopped away towards the city, leaving dusty gold footprints behind it. Wind whipped dust into the youth's eyes, and they hastily wiped it away before setting out after the mysterious creature, wondering where it was leading them. This Aladdin remake is wild. Flamingo, please. Flamingo, please. Not the Aladdin remake. Like the large rabbit's warren, the city turned the youth around in circles. Streets spiraled and danced with each other, and narrow side streets led them to dead ends over and over again. The king's soldiers patrolled the paved sidewalks, standing tall as temple pillars and just as stony. Their solemn eyes disapprovingly followed the youth as they darted around each corner. Vesper. A rabbit in a desert? That is a new unicorn take. It is. It's a very interesting cultural translation. That's what I would describe it as. But it sort of makes sense. In different areas of the world, the types of creatures you encounter are different. There are definitely horses in the desert, but if I can recall from oh, I'm sorry, my mic is buzzing. I don't know why. Jiggle the cord a little bit. I think that that horses that were in the desert were specially brought and bred there. From arid climates to help traverse, but they're still not as good as camels. So you don't see them as often. So it kind of makes sense to have a creature that can actually traverse the desert be not a unicorn, but closer to how they would imagine a unicorn, right? I see it. It's definitely interesting, but I think it's a cool lens to view it through. Okay, getting back to it. Dusty paw prints left behind by the creature glimmered into nothingness against hot cobblestone streets. They walked the streets, hunting for any sign of the mirage. They looked down alleys, behind fruit stands, under stacks of clothing and around doors, to no avail. Wandering about listlessly, they made their way to the main avenue, leading up to the king's house. Suddenly, before them, was the mirage, sitting as calm as could be. As fast as a falcon diving towards its prey, the soldiers were upon the glistening creature, bundling it up in a leather bag. It thrashed and kicked within the satchel, horn nearly piercing the leather. Off the soldiers marched, towards the castle, and it was all the youth could do to try and follow them. The palace loomed, tall-walled and imposing against the midday sun. Slipping through the gates, the youth crept forward, entering with soft footfalls. The castle halls were swathed in shadow and almost chilly compared to the sun-baked city streets outside. More soldiers marched in regular pairs through the corridor, escorting nobles to and fro, intermingling with servants carrying platters of food and secret packages to who knows where. In the bustle, the youth lost sight of the soldiers with the leather satchel containing the mirage. They wandered the large main hall, peering into different rooms as they went. A meeting with 3 stern-looking gentlemen in a dark-paneled room, a gaggle of noble women whispering in a boudoir, a servant crying alone in a kitchen. All passed by their gaze, but with no sign of the mirage. A large room with massive gilded doors ended the main hall. The youth slunk up to the doors and pressed an ear to the crack between them. They heard a high-pitched squealing come from the room and beyond. And then they froze, struck with fear. What of the mirage? Oh no, nobility, the patriarchy. I mean, yeah. The squealing stopped as rapidly as it had begun, and a gust of warm, dry wind blew the door open a crack, as if pushed by an invisible hand. The sight of hung pelts greeted the youth as they entered the trophy room. A multitude of skins, limply dangling from pins, coated the room's 4 walls. Tears immediately came to the youth's eyes as they realized these were the skins of many horned beasts, with Mirage occupying the place of pride in the center of the back wall, the last Mirage taken as a trophy. The youth sobbed, unable to draw breath for crying. Why would the king do this, you ask, best beloved? Why does any king conquer? For power, best beloved. Cutting through their ragged sobs, the voice of Mirage gently spoke in the youth's ear. Use me, young one. You are pure of heart, and I will give you my power in exchange for one thing. What can you want now, creature? The king has collected you as a trophy. Avenge what has been taken from me. Avenge the lives you see here before you. I accept this burden. If I am anything at all, I will avenge your siblings. The youth drew forward, taking up the freshly shorn skin of Mirage from its place on the king's wall, and draped it over their shoulders. A strength and magic unlike any other rolled through them, and the youth quaked with it. In an instant, they knew, sure as stone, what must be done. Revenge, yes, revenge. We are encountering revenge today. Flamingo. This turned into an anime real quick. Absolutely. We just saw a transformation sequence. That's basically what was described to us. They put on the pelt and the magic was like, yes, this is it, baby. We in there. Unicorn Sailor Moon transfer. Yes, hitch and a go, baby. The youth opened their mouth and loosed an unearthly cry, so sharp and loud that it shook the stone walls of the palace. The yell deepened and grew in volume, and the walls rocked and swayed, the bricks that held the ceiling up rattling in their mortar. The youth's breath whipped around them like a dust cloud, kicking up dust from the walls themselves. A silty tornado spiraled out from the youth and spat out every brick from the castle walls, raining stone into the city below until the trophy room, soldiers, and castles were all scattered to the winds like so many grains of sand. The youth turned heel in their new form, best beloved, and their flanks now were coated with golden hair. With a twitch of their new whiskers, they hopped back towards the expanse of the wild desert, their singular pearlescent horn shining under the midday sun. And there you have it. We had a little Sailor Moon moment there. Unicorn Sailor Moon. So I suppose this youth is now the last Mirage, probably. Pretty dope. Yeah, we got the revenge. Oh, there's like a little comic in here. Oh, that's cute. Okay, I might take a photo of that and put it on there. This is like the halfway point for the book, so I actually think it would be great. I was considering doing like one more reading, but I think I'm gonna wait and do the rest of the book for a second story time. Love revenge. Who doesn't love revenge? right? I feel like revenge is very compelling. It's very relatable. So yes, that was the first half of MONOCEROS. I think it's a really cool book. I'm quite fond of it. And I think it'll be perfect for bedtime stories for another stream later. Good, send this to your Twitter so I can unleash the memes. It's super duper, super de duper late where I am right now. So yes, I'll probably put them up tomorrow morning. I am so surprised that Nightbot is actually doing work today. That's crazy. That's crazy. I really couldn't figure out how to actually get it to work, so I'm shocked. I'm shocked and in awe. I feel like for the next few streams, I'm just totally gonna comment on Nightbot, right? Like, yeah, Nightbot is here for the unicorns. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nightbot only works at night. Yes, clearly. But yes, there you have it. MONOCEROS, that was super fun. I enjoyed reading it. I'm glad that I finally got a chance to read it. I've had this book for a few years. I've been holding on to it. I have looked at all of the art already in the book, but I don't know. I was saving the text for like a rainy day. You know, like I had already supported the artists and creators, so I figured I did the hard part, which was spend money. I enjoyed this a lot. Yes, thank you. I'm glad. And I don't know. I enjoy reading. I enjoy processing information. It's been so hard to get back into reading anytime recently. I have such a rough time. So using stream is a way to like get my brain into being hyped for reading again. Fantastic. I'm about it. Vesper, I am actually working on a unicorn story myself. Ooh, you already know I enjoy your writing, so I cannot wait. Oh my god, Flamingo, please. What if it's not nasty at all? What if it's not nasty at all, Flamingo? Why? It's okay. I'm composing myself. Okay. It's not nasty. It's actually about a circus. That sounds very fun. And like a lot of it sounds like there's a lot of chances for subversion and playing into things. So I'm looking forward to it. I know, I think you mentioned doing like a collection of short stories and then like also a novel separately. So obviously I'm looking forward to any and all of those. I can't remember the last time I wrote anything about a unicorn. I've definitely done it, but it's probably been like a decade or two. It's been quite some time. Yes, my writing brain be working. Oh, I know, because I know that you schedule those writing prompt tweets that you send out. And they're really good. They're really, really good. One day, I'm gonna give myself the homework assignment to actually like fill one out in a twit longer and show it to you. Please save my smooth brain. Yes, I have two modes. Writing brain and smooth brain. There's no in between. I'm in gear for one or the other at all times. That's it. But okay, I am gonna call it here and actually get some sleep because I did not stay up as late streaming as I thought I was going to. I'm also one day gonna use it in a D&D campaign. Yes, these are concepts that are really great for D&D campaigns. I'm definitely about that. So thanks for coming out, guys. For anyone who's watching this VOD later, I hope that you found the stories interesting and that you found my reading compelling. I'm definitely not one of those people that does all the voices, but I try to at least keep a steady rhythm. 'Twas lovely. Sleep well, my love. I'm going to sleep so much better tonight now. Oh, thank you, Val. Thank you. Yes, good night, VOD watchers. Exactly. Everyone have a good night. Remember to take care of yourself and that you are very important. And I hope to see you around for the next stream. Bye.